Bruce Willis. Once upon a time, the most bankable and reliable star in Hollywood, with such hits like Die Hard, The Sixth Sense, Looper, and The Fifth Element. And now, starring in some of the worst stinkers known to mankind. Appearing in garbage that you've probably never heard of, like Cosmic Sin, Breach, Hard Kill, Reprisal, and his latest stinker, Out of Death. Ugh. What kind of title is that? Sounds like a rejected movie from Steven Seagal.
You kind of remind me of my cousin Delbert from down around Boogaloo.
And looking at the top of the poster, from the producer of The Irishman, I'm sure Martin Scorsese will be delighted to see his name of his movie in this masterpiece. But even with COVID, Bruce is still churning up these awful movies, all for a quick million. This guy is truly a definition of greedy and lazy. Also, if you want to know more on my thoughts about Bruce and all of his latest dumpster fires and why he keeps making them, please make sure to check out Bruce Willis, The Man Who Stopped Caring, which will be left on the description down below. With that said, welcome to Dumb Down, a show where we summarize movies in hopes of understanding them better. Today, we dumb down Out of Death. With all the garbage that Bruce has released in the past 10 years, will this movie be the game changer? The one that blows us away? No, this movie's terrible. This is probably his worst movie yet. This movie was shot in only 9 days, and at the height of the pandemic, and Bruce was only available for 1 day of shooting. So, you guessed it. His footage will be sprinkled throughout the entire movie, and the rest will be doubles. Speaking of which, the movie starts with one of the worst openings, a short montage of Bruce Willis and all of his scenes in this movie. Such a great way to start a movie, right?
Good. Got it. Great. Good.
So after the awful montage, we're introduced to Shannon, who's coming down to a mountain town to bring her father's ashes. She mentions briefly on the ride to the destination that her dad used to spend a lot of time there as a kid. She thanks her friend for bringing her and also says,
If you don't hear from me in a few hours, call search and rescue, okay? Seriously? No, I'm kidding.
You just made a big mistake.
She should have been serious because everything is going to go to crap, and mostly all due to poor decisions made by Shannon. But before things go bad, Shannon is walking along the woods, and she decides to sit down and write some thoughtful words about her late father, and says,
Welcome back.
Meanwhile, we're introduced to Jimmy, or according to IMDb, the tattooed man. We see him park his car on the side of the road and powders his nose with some
Cocaine.
As soon as he snorts, a cop shows up behind him.
Man, that sucks!
Jimmy grabs his phone and pushes the record button, hides the phone in the visor, and sits in the passenger seat. The cop walks closer and asks,
Waiting for somebody?
Jimmy tells her,
Get in.
and they start making out?
Dude, teach me.
So apparently these two already know each other, and they're about to get down to business.
Giggity go!
Well, not that kind of business.
You're 4 stacks short.
As punishment, the cop gives him less coke for consumption. In the midst of arguing, the cop notices that Jimmy is asking too many questions.
What the
While this is happening, our protagonist Shannon is witnessing everything, and instead of minding her own business and walking away, she stays to record the whole thing. Jimmy, seeing that he has been caught in the act, decides to throw the coke in the cop's face. Jimmy runs, only to be shot in the most ridiculous way by the cop. Or should I say the most amazing bullet time since Belly of the Beast with Steven Seagal.
Oh, beautiful.
Shannon, shocked, continues to record. The cop drags the body, and the movie moves on to introduce us to Jack, played by Bruce Willis, who is staying in a cabin with his niece, staying there to relax and take time to grieve after the passing of his wife. The cabin belongs to his brother, who will be gone for a month. We learn all of this through expository dialogue by his niece in less than 30 seconds. Jack also gives a video game to his nephew as a gift, who we never see again in this movie. Jack says,
What's a city guy like me supposed to do around here?
Gonna be slapping your troubles away with the slap chop. Now look, here's a potato. 1 slap, you got big chunks for stews. 2 slaps, home fries in a second. And look at this. But you add a mushroom, the more you do it, the finer it gets. You don't have to switch any blades.
His niece says,
Take a hike. Just get some fresh air in you.
She advises him to leave the phone behind. Or maybe leave your phone behind so that you won't be able to communicate with anyone in case of danger. Thanks a lot, movie.
Good. Got it. Great. Good.
But she does tell him to take his gun in case of bears. Now back to Shannon. She's still recording and finally gets caught.
Hey!
Shannon runs away. The cop calls her superior, who is a sheriff, and he's listening to a terrible joke.
Then she said, I'm not talking about your pistol. I'm talking about your piece.
Ha.
The sheriff gets called in by another cop to take the call in line 1, and we learn that the cop's name is Billy. She explains that she had to let her asset Jimmy go, and by letting him go, it means that she killed him. She explains that she hid him under the car and hid it in the bushes away from the road. She also mentions an unintended, someone who witnessed the whole thing. The sheriff says not to worry, there's only 3 exits. Close them off and they will be able to catch her. The other cop, Tommy, goes along to help Billy catch Shannon. The cop arrives, cleans up Billy's mess, snorts some cocaine, and plants the sign of the sheriff who's running for mayor. Back at the cabin, Jack waves goodbye to his niece and nephew, who we only hear and not see. Obviously because it was shot on different days. After running and hiding for so long, Shannon gets convinced by Billy to give herself in. Cop promises that she won't hurt her, and of course,
I lied.
she bites Billy's hand and runs away, only to be knocked out by Tommy. Shannon gets dragged, tied up, and placed on the ground. They tell her not to worry, just say what she thinks she saw. Shannon says she'll say anything they want her to say, but they don't believe her. The cops put her on her knees. Tommy tells Billy to fire at her, but she can't do it. With all the commotion happening, guess who shows up? That's right, good old Jack. No, not that Jack. This Jack, who unenthusiastically says,
On your knees. Now, goddammit!
Bruce, that's not how you deliver a line. This is how you deliver a line.
If you think I'm here to play around with y'all, god damn it, I'm not.
All right, Mr. O'Neill.
Anyway, Bruce, who looks like he's reading his lines from cue cards, Jack, tells Shannon to run away.
Run, damn it!
Shots are fired and both run away, and somehow they get split up. Shannon hides in the shed and finds a way to cut her ropes. Billy finds her, and Shannon stabs her. Tommy finds Billy and mends the wound. Jack locates Shannon, they sit and they have a talk. He says, you can trust me, and that they need evidence. Shannon mentions that she does have evidence. She just has to get back her camera. Jack tells her to get the camera, and that they should meet back up here. Jack gives Shannon his gun, and he just leaves her?
What are you, surprised?
Oh, that's right. Bruce was only available to shoot for 1 day. So now with Billy wounded, the sheriff shows up and says to Tommy to take her out of her misery. Tommy kills Billy, and the sheriff decides to give Jack a visit. But no one's home. However, he does discover that he is a cop. Information that he could have found out from his other partners. We go back to Shannon, who instead of running to look back for the camera, is looking at a photo of her dad. Also, pay attention to the gun on her lap. After a moment, she gathers the strength and she begins to run back, only to come across Tommy again. Shannon gets knocked down, and they begin to wrestle in the mud. Remember the gun? Never in this moment or before getting knocked down did Shannon decide to use the gun. Only after she knocks him out, she takes out the gun. And it's empty?
You must be kidding, aren't you?
Thanks, Jack. She keeps running and gets stabbed. But no worries. She grabs his gun and kills him. The sheriff calls dispatch to get connected to Pam, who just starts giving out information about Jack so freely.
Yeah, he's visiting the family cabin. He's just trying to get some rest. His wife passed recently, and it's been really hard on him.
Text me over his cell phone number.
Of course.
You're so dumb. You are really dumb. For real.
The sheriff goes back to the woods, finds Tommy dead, and places the body next to Billy. The sheriff calls one of his men to pick up Pam. Jack gets a call from the sheriff and tells him that he has his niece, and he only has 10 minutes to get Shannon in exchange for Pam.
You better be ready for some action, Jack.
But Shannon has witnessed the whole call and starts running again. She finds a house to stay in, and Jack goes in and says,
There's still a way.
Jack, I'm not anymore, Jack. I don't give a about your niece. Not friends.
What's your profanity?
Right, I'm sorry.
Just listen to me. We're in this together. We're running out of time.
I'm not hearing a plan, Jack.
I'm working on it. The third guy. He never saw you. He doesn't know what you look like. He doesn't know what you sound like.
They put the lady of the house on the phone, and the sheriff buys it. The sheriff arrives at the house and tells Jack to instruct the girl to count. Now, he thinks it's Shannon, but it's really the other lady in the house. And he thinks he's going to find Shannon unarmed. But, surprise, surprise, she's armed. The sheriff calls his men to shoot Pam, but Jack has somehow overpowered the guy. We never see how this happened.
That's the sound of justice.
Also, we get a flashback to where Shannon found the camera and uploaded all the footage to the FBI. When did this happen? With what time? She was being chased. She was running. How?
Stop asking so many f***ing questions.
So the sheriff gets shot, falls to his knees, gets arrested, and Jack goes back to his cabin and talks to his niece. Goes outside and talks to Shannon. The end.
I gotta take a shit. Would you excuse me?
What a waste of 95 minutes. I could have jerked off, watched Seinfeld, eat some popcorn, jerked off again, and instead I've watched this piece of shit. So this was Out of Depth Dumbed Down. A very, very boring movie. way below average action movie that will surely have you snoozing by the first 15 minutes. Definitely Bruce Willis' worst movie to date. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe, and while you're at it, follow us on Instagram. Also, remember to check out the video on Bruce Willis on the description down below. And I'll be seeing you guys next time.
See ya! Bye!
Get the fuck out of here now.
If you want any more of that, you can come by and see us again, yeah?
That's the sound of justice.